Fans, we only have 2 games left in the regular season of the 2024 NBA year, and those 2 games are against the Toronto Raptors for your Miami Heat, who currently hold a record of 44-36. On today's show, I'm going to break down the playoff clinching scenarios for Miami, what is still in play for the Heat, what is not in play, and what they can still get in the postseason, what is likely going to be the matchup for Miami in the first round / play-in, spoiler alert. And we will take you into a Terry Rozier / Duncan Robinson injury update. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I am going to be live for the final 2 games of the regular season against the Toronto Raptors. Well, we will also be live for any play-in or playoff game that Miami plays. I am Nic Rohloff. I have you covered on the latest surrounding the Miami Heat. All right, so as I mentioned, the Heat hold a record of 44-36 right now. Couple missed opportunities, one last night at home. It wasn't really a close game, but you needed to win that game, and that was a missed opportunity at the 305 Kaseya Center. And you missed an opportunity blowing that game at home against the Philadelphia 76ers last Thursday. You also blew the opportunity against the Indiana Pacers. I know the refs kind of screwed us at the end, but if you want to blame the officials, that's cool, but probably just not a good idea to fall behind 22 points in the first half. So I'm not going to really put the blame on the officials. But you had 2 chances to really give yourself a good seed. And if we're going to be honest, if the Heat were able to just beat the Sixers and Pacers last Thursday and Sunday, they would be the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference right now. Yeah. It was literally the difference of 2 games. That's how frustrating the season has been. And the outlook on this Miami Heat team would be completely different if they were able to capitalize on that 2-game stretch against Indiana last Sunday and Philly last Thursday. Because if they won those 2 games, like I said, we're sitting here with a 46-34 record, which is 12 games above 500, and would be the current 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, and we would be feeling pretty good about the way things are heading into the postseason. But instead, they are the current 8 seed. And it's now time to jump into what the scenarios are for Miami and why they are likely going to stay in the play-in. So, you can't jump Indiana anymore. Both teams have 2 games left, and the Pacers hold the tiebreaker. So even if Indiana goes 0-2 and Miami goes 2-0, the Pacers still hold the tiebreaker. You can jump only 2 teams. So there is still a very, very slim chance that Miami gets the 6th seed. This is the exact scenario that Miami has to have happen. There is one opportunity. There is only one road where Miami can get the 6th seed. They obviously have to start by winning both games against the Raptors at home on Friday and Sunday. You go 2-0, you finish the year 46-36. You need the Magic to go 0-2. Who do the Magic play in their final 2 games? They play the Philadelphia 76ers on Friday night, and then they play the Milwaukee Bucks on Sunday. So 2 good teams. The only concern there, if you're me, is even if the Magic do lose on Friday to the Sixers, you would need them to lose on Sunday against the Bucks. And the Bucks could have the 2 seed locked up, which means they very well could rest Damian Lillard. So you need the Magic to go 0-2 against Philly and Milwaukee. What you need Philadelphia to do in order to jump them and Orlando to have the 6th seed, because you hold the tiebreaker over Orlando and Philly because conference record with the Sixers, and you beat the Magic 3 out of 4 times this year. You need the Sixers to go 1-1. You obviously need them to beat the Magic if you want to be the 6th seed. And then the 1 game Philly has to lose is on Sunday against the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah. So it's very unlikely that, 1, the Magic go 0-2. It's very also unlikely that the Sixers lose to the Nets on Sunday, considering they are the hottest team in the Eastern Conference, winning their last 6 games and 7 of their last 3. They have been a different-looking team ever since Embiid has came back, and they are one of the most deep teams with Maxey, Oubre, Tobias Harris, Nick Batum's playing good ball. Obviously, you got the big dynamic duo of Maxey and Embiid, so I don't know, man. I think it's very unlikely that the Heat get the 6th seed, but that is how they'd have to do it. They'd have to have the Magic go 0-2. Philly has to go 1-1, and Miami has to go 2-0. More to break down in terms of clinching scenarios for Miami, but let me know in the comment section if you think this Heat team can even make a run in the postseason, regardless of what seed they are. And let me ask you this. Will they even win a playoff series? Whether they be the 8th seed, whether they're the 7th seed, or whatever. Will the Heat win a playoff series? Type Y for yes, type N for no. All right, now let's look at what the Heat would have to do in order to jump the Philadelphia 76ers, because right now those two teams would play in the play-in game 7-8, and the winner would get to play the 2 seed in the first round of the playoffs, which, as things currently stand, would be the Milwaukee Bucks. So the Heat are likely playing Philadelphia, like I said, unless Orlando goes 0-2 or the Pacers go 0-2, because then Philly could jump one of them. But I think we will still play the Sixers. And the way that Miami needs to have the season shake out in order to host Philly instead of having to go to Philadelphia for the play-in game is obviously the Sixers just have to drop one. The Sixers have to go 1-1. The Heat have to go 2-0. Like I said, Miami holds the tiebreaker due to conference record. So as long as Miami wins both games against Toronto and Philly loses one of their last 2 games, the Heat will host the Sixers as the 7th seed in the first play-in game. So if you're asking me, because of how unlikely it is that the Sixers lose on Sunday against the Brooklyn Nets, I actually am rooting for the Orlando Magic on Friday night. I am, because I know if the Magic lose, there's still that small, slim chance that the Heat get the 6th seed. But I am more concerned with hosting Philadelphia as the 7th seed rather than getting the 6th seed. Because if you want to be able to have home court advantage in the biggest game of the year, to win and play Milwaukee rather than lose and then win against the winner of Chicago and Atlanta and play Boston, I want that game to be in the Kaseya Center. So because I don't see a path that the Sixers lose to the Nets on Sunday, because the Nets will be playing for nothing and they stink, and the Sixers know they have to win that game to host the play-in game potentially. If they lose or if they beat the Magic, or they could still be playing for a 6th seed. So that will be a game where Philly tries very, very hard, so I don't see them losing to Brooklyn. So I'm rooting for Orlando to beat the Sixers on Friday, so the Heat will have just the chance to win out potentially in that scenario and be the 7th seed, so they can host the Sixers in the first play-in game. All right, that was the playoff clinching scenarios for Miami. We're going to get into the Duncan Robinson and Terry Rozier injury updates in just a second. But shout out Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. It is the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America. And if you've been watching our live streams, you know I play Prize Picks every single day with the Miami Heat. And I'm actually kind of on a heater right now. I'm 2-0 in my last 2 with the game yesterday against the Mavs and on Tuesday against the Hawks. You can win up to 100 times your money this month of April by picking 4 or more player stat projections. It's so easy to play. You just pick more than, you pick less than. It's that simple. You can combine entries between MLB, NBA, NHL. You can even go to golf with the Masters, League of Legends, boxing. They have it all. Get started today. Easy, quick withdrawals with an enormous amount of stat projections to play from. Download the app today. Input code CLNS to get a first deposit match up to $100, or you can go into the comments and description of today's video, click on that link that is there, which is prizepicks.com/CLNS, and then once again input code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that simple. All right, let's jump into the injury updates surrounding Terry Rozier and Duncan Robinson. And let's start with the guard that is Terry Rozier. So he obviously did not play the last 2 games against the Atlanta Hawks and Dallas Mavericks due to neck soreness. He played on Sunday with neck soreness against the Pacers. He said after the fact that he probably should not have played. So a little bit of a mishap from him and the staff of Miami, which honestly, we do have to have a conversation with the injury staff of Miami because of how many injuries this team has had over the past 3 or 4 seasons. But I expect Rozier to be ready to go for the next 2 games in the regular season because he was questionable for the game on Wednesday against the Mavericks, did not play, was a game time decision. So the fact that he was questionable and a game time decision, I do think Rozier will be ready to go for the final 2 years, which honestly, the Heat obviously don't need him to play. I mean, yes, we laid out the scenarios, but to me, Rozier playing on Friday and Sunday is all about gaining chemistry with Tyler Herro, because those two, if the Heat have any aspirations of winning the play-in and making some noise in the playoffs again, are going to have to play a massive role for Miami to really alleviate the stress on offense of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, who have no-showed constantly throughout the regular season against top-tier teams. So you're going to need your backcourt to really drive home most of your offense. And those two just have simply not got a lot of playing time together. So Herro and Rozier in the final 2 games of the season against Toronto, I want to see them play a lot of minutes together. Now you could stagger them, Spo, if you'd like, but I'd like to see how a backcourt of Rozier and Herro functions offensively as well as defensively before we get to the biggest games of the year in the play-in and postseason. So I expect Rozier to be ready to go on Friday and Sunday. When it comes to Duncan Robinson, that is truly a mystery. Miami has been pretty hush on how serious that is. We did report a couple weeks ago that it was a left facet back injury. I think that's what it was called. And he returned much quicker than I expected. I thought it was going to be a 2-3 week injury. He was ready to go in 1.5, 2 weeks, just missing 13 days. And he has been horrible since returning from injury. I think he returned way too soon. It was very evident in his play, just averaging 4.8 points per game in 22 minutes while shooting sub 25% from 3 and under 30% from the field. I mean, Duncan Robinson was a liability both on the offensive end and defensive end. So it was very clear to me that D-Rob should not have returned. Now he's out of the lineup once again with the same injury, and no one really knows when he is going to return. Duncan was much more honest about his injury when he spoke to the media about how he should not have came back. I think they rushed it a little bit, and he wants to make sure he is completely right this time. So the question I have, and I don't really have an answer for you, but it is an update in my mind, is I don't know if Duncan Robinson is going to be able to return in the final 2 regular season games. And I think the question is, do the Heat need him to even make it to the postseason? Are they going to be able to win one of those 2 play-in games without Duncan, which would give Robinson another week and a half before it is necessary for him to play? Because, listen, if the Heat lose the first play-in game as the 7-8 and then win the second, and they're facing the first-seeded Boston Celtics in the 8-1, that series will tip off on Sunday. If they win the first game as the 7 and play Milwaukee, I believe that series will start on Saturday. So you would be able to give Duncan a full week and a half off after the couple games he just missed in order for him to be back and hopefully fully healthy and get right this time as he returns from the back injury. That is going to do it for today's video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Like I said, we are going to be live for the final 2 games of the regular season against Toronto. We'll update you on Sunday with who the Heat play, whether it be in the play-in or the playoff series, a little preview action, and be live for those games as well. You might be tired of the Heat season this year. I kind of am getting worn out by the garbage and BS that this team has thrown out lately. But still going to cover it because I live and breathe Miami Heat basketball. So subscribe to the channel and stay up to date on the latest surrounding your team with the Heat Report.